A well set up computer system mainly has two input devices, and these devices are computer mouse and computer keyboard. As a user, if you have much control over these input devices, it equips your skills and also enhances your productivity when it comes to the working environment of computing. On this interface, I have this workbook open and I have these 4 worksheets available. And in this particular tutorials, I am going to share with you some keyboard shortcuts and also some combination of keyboard and also the mouse activities that can enhance your productivity anytime you get access to Microsoft Excel. So without much talk, let's get right into this video. This is the Excel workbook I have, and it is well opened. And when you move to the title bar, we have the name as employee status and the application is Excel. In this case, if I want to open a new workbook using the mouse, you have to move to the file menu. Then in this backstage view, we have home, which is going to allow you to choose blank workbook. And when you choose new, this also allows you to choose a blank workbook. But this is when the keyboard is going to work faster for you by using Ctrl+N on the keyboard. And this simple keyboard shortcut is going to open a new workbook available on your desktop background. And when you move back to the title bar, we have it as book 3. Therefore, this is a new workbook which I can input and analyze my data perfectly. This is when we have 2 workbooks open on our desktop background. And let's say if you want to switch between these 2 workbooks, there is a keyboard shortcut that can help you to do so, and that is to hold Ctrl and the tab key. Now you can see that I have this existing workbook which is employee status. When I hold the keyboard shortcut once again, this moves me to this new workbook. So if you have more than 2 workbooks open on your desktop background, this keyboard shortcut become an easy navigation for you just to snap between these keyboard shortcuts, and you are going to have your display of all the opened workbooks that you have on your desktop background. Now in this case, I have this particular data available. We all have the way we say things depending on our sightedness. So at an instance, you might want to zoom in or zoom out to have a perfection in terms of viewing your data in your Excel workbook. Now there is a keyboard shortcut and also the combination of the keyboard and the mouse. If I am to use the keyboard and the mouse, I'm going to hold down the Control key on the keyboard and use my scroll wheel on the mouse by scrolling up. And you can see that I am zooming, and if I want to zoom out, scroll down whilst the Control key is held on the keyboard. And you can see that this is another way of zooming in and zooming out. So I have combined the keyboard and the mouse to perform this action. If I want to use the keyboard only, I'm going to use the Control key, the Alt key, and the plus symbol. So you can see that I'm zooming in, and when I use the Control key, the Alt key, and the minus symbol, this is going to zoom out. So this is the keyboard shortcut that can help you to zoom in and zoom out your Excel workbook. If you have the newer version or the updated version of Microsoft Excel, you can use the Control and the plus symbol or the Control and the minus symbol to zoom in and zoom out. You can see the action that is being partaken in this particular Excel workbook. Now let me use my new workbook that I created. So I'm going to use the Control and the tab to switch to that particular workbook. And in this case, I'm going to zoom in. Now I'm going to enter some data here, which we are going to use some other actions on this particular data to analyze it. So I'm going to enter some data here. Give me some seconds. Now I have this data entered into my worksheet in this particular workbook. Now, since this is a new workbook which has the default name book 3, if I don't make any changes or save this particular workbook into a particular location on my computer system, and there is any power outage or there is an interruption to this data, then I am going to lose this particular data. Therefore, this is when we are going to save this into a particular location on our desktop background, and there's a keyboard shortcut to do so. You can use Ctrl+S since this is a new workbook. Now this is going to jump you to the backstage view where you are allowed to choose a location from this section, that is your recent tab, or you can move to this PC or browse to save this particular workbook. You can also use the F12, that is the functional key F12, and this particular keyboard shortcut is going to provide you with this beautiful save as dialog box, and that is going to prompt you to choose a location from this navigation pane and save your workbook with a particular name. I'm going to click in this file name field and then type a name for this workbook. Now this is the name I want to have for this file name, and when I'm done, I move to this dialog box below and choose save. Now this workbook is perfectly saved with this particular name. When we get to this data that we have here, if I want to perfectly align them, I can click and drag over it to select all these cells. Another way to select all these cells is to select a single cell, because you can see that I use my mouse to select all these cells which contain my data. If you hold Ctrl+A on the keyboard, this is going to select all this data that we have here, because one was chosen as the active cell. Therefore, this keyboard shortcut is going to recognize all the data that we have in this particular worksheet in their individual cells. So if I select this or this and hold Ctrl+A, this is going to select all my type data in this worksheet. You can also select a single cell, hold down the Control key, the Shift key, and the asterisk symbol. This is also going to select all your data that you type in your worksheet. And if you want to use the mouse, you can also click and drag to select. Now I want to align this to the center, so I'm going to click on this in the alignment group. Now when you move to column A, we have this data which is below the name, and I have this data which are not fully shown. There are some data which are hidden, and I need to adjust this column so that all this data will be fit in their cells, and the cell is going to be fit based on the data that is entered into these cells that we have below column A. Now if I want to select column A with the mouse, I can place the pointer on this A and click, and that is going to select all this data that we have and any other empty cell that we have below column A. Therefore, any formatting that we are going to apply to this, or anything that we are going to do to this column, is going to affect all the cells under column A. Can we select the column with the keyboard? Yes, it is possible. We can hold the Control key and the space bar on the keyboard, and this is going to select the entire data under column A. Therefore, to adjust, I'm going to move to this column and place my mouse pointer on this separator between A and B and double click. Therefore, I have easily adjusted this column based on the selection that we had. So this is how to select a column with the keyboard shortcut Control plus space bar on the keyboard. To select a row, you click in the cell and hold Shift key and the space bar, and this is going to select this entire row that we have here. To use the mouse, you place the mouse pointer on the row headers, click to select, click to select. And in this case, let's assume I want to select individual or random cells in my worksheet. I'm going to select the first cell, hold down the Control key, click, 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 and this is going to select all these cells randomly. I can also use select and hold down the Shift key and click. and this is going to select in sequence form. That is selecting the first cell and also the last cell, and any cell between the first and the last cell is going to be selected. And in this case, I select the first cell and I held the shift key on the keyboard and select the last cell, and this has selected all these cells in this particular row. Now in this case, if I want to apply some bold formatting to this, I'm going to use Ctrl+B on the keyboard. So you can see that I have bold this selected cell that we have here with the Control key and the letter B. I have this cell selected. If I want to copy this to the clipboard of the Excel window, I can hold Ctrl+C. Therefore, to identify these copied items, I'll move to the Home tab. In the clipboard group, we have this dialog box launcher. We click, and this is going to provide you with a clipboard task pane, and we have these items copied. And later on, we are going to use another keyboard shortcut which is going to allow us to paste this copied item to a different location. So this item is copied into the clipboard of the Excel window. I'm going to click on this X button to cancel. We have this dancing line or this dancing borderline around the selected data. If you want to cancel, you press the escape key on the keyboard. Moving to the next action, as usual, we have these names here, and we have text 1, text 2, and text 3. I want to find the total for all these students in this column. So I'm going to select this cell, type the equal to sign. Now, if I want to add these cells, I can use the sum function. I can also use cell references with the addition symbol to add these cells. But there's another trick you can use in Microsoft Excel to open the formula or the function argument dialog box, and that is going to give you a proof and also a reference of whatever you are going to do in this particular cell. So now that I have this equal to sign selected, I'm going to type the sum function, which is SUM. I can hold Ctrl+A, and this is going to open the function argument dialog box. Let me move this to this section, and then it says number 1 B2 colon D2. So you can see that this has automatically selected B2, C2, and D2 in this particular cell. If that is not appropriate to you, you can click and drag, and this is also going to identify your cell references or your cell range. Therefore, in this dialog box, we have the numbers which are selected in their individual cells, and also when it gets below here, we have equal to 85. This tells you that this is the output or the result you are going to gain when you use this particular function. And also we have formula result here, and this tells you this is the output. As usual, this also gives you the output that we have here, and this is 85 and this is also 85. So in this case, if we add this total of numbers, that is 45, 20, and 20, we are going to have the total in this particular cell. Therefore, if I click on OK, this provides me with 85. And if I want to apply this function to all these cells, I'm going to double click on this fill handle, and I have the total for all these names that we have under column A. Now in this window, if I want to minimize this window and get access to the desktop or any other window that is lying behind this Excel window, I'm going to use Ctrl+F9 on the keyboard. So you can see that I have minimized this window, and recently I have my previous workbook, which is employee status, on my desktop background. If I want to bring this minimized window, that is the new workbook that I have on my desktop, back to this interface, I'm going to use Ctrl+F5 on the keyboard, and I have this workbook restored back to my desktop background. If you want to view all your open windows and get access to this workbook, you can use the Alt key and the Tab key on the keyboard, and this is going to provide you with all these open windows that we have. And you have to make sure that your finger is held on the Alt key, Then you use the tab key to navigate through all these open windows. So if I want to access the new workbook window, I just make sure that the selection is around that particular window. Then I'm going to release the keyboard shortcut. So this allows you to get access to your workbook that you were previously working on. When you move to the menu bar of this particular window, we have this ribbon that displays anytime you select any of these tabs. So if I select the page layout, this provides me with the ribbon of the page layout. If I select home, this provides the home ribbon. And let's assume I want to have a bit of space to work within when I am manipulating my data in Excel. We can easily hide this particular ribbon. And how can we do this? You hold the control key and the F1 on the keyboard. So you can see that I have easily hide this particular ribbon, and I have only the tabs shown on the menu bar. Therefore, this gives me a very big space to have a focus on my data that is being analyzed and also manipulated in Microsoft Excel. So this is how to hide the ribbon. If you want to bring it back, you use the control key and the F1 once again. And to use the mouse for this particular option, you move to the right far end of this particular ribbon, and we have this arrow here. When you click, it hides, and when you click on any of these tabs, it brings back your ribbon. And if you want to pin this so that it do not vanish without your consent, then you have to click on this pin icon, and therefore you're going to have back your ribbon in Microsoft Excel. Now if I select all these cells, which when you click on this cell, you can use the shift key and the right arrow key, and this is going to select all these cells. Let's assume I want to underline these cells in this particular data. I can use Ctrl+U on the keyboard, and you can see that I have underlined perfectly this selected data we have in this worksheet. Now if I move to this section and click on this cell, hold Ctrl+V on the keyboard, nothing happens because the item that we copied, there has been some time frame between it. But if I move back to the home tab in the clipboard group, I have the items here. Therefore if I click on this, this is going to paste these items from the clipboard. So this is when this clipboard becomes very vital. Anytime you copy some items and this item is found in this clipboard, it can stay there for some time. If you want to pull up this data into your Excel worksheet, you just get to your clipboard and click on this option. Now that we have this selected, if I delete this and close this window, now this is activated. Therefore if I use the control key and the letter V, this is going to paste these items into my Excel window. Now in Excel we have a shortcut that helps you to have a duplicate of your items, which can be a number or a function, a formula, or any data type in Microsoft Excel. Now in this case I have this name which is located in column A and row 8. If I move to A9 and I want to have the same name here, or if I want to have the same data across these cells, I can select these cells and use Ctrl+D on the keyboard, and this is going to copy and paste the same name under these cells that we have here. So if you want to have a quick duplication of some data in Microsoft Excel, you can use Ctrl+D. Now another shortcut I want to introduce to you is when I select A10 and I want to have a temporal drop down and select any of these names I have in this column A, I can select this cell and use the Alt key and the down arrow key, and this is going to provide me with this temporal drop down list, and I can choose any of this. If I want to have some name which is already in this worksheet and I want to have that name in this cell, I can just navigate through this drop down list and click, and I'm going to have that name here. If that is not a new name I want to type into my worksheet, but I want to have a duplicate of this existing name, you select Alt and the down arrow key, then you click and that is going to have this name in this particular cell. Now let's assume that at an instance they want you to pull out the first name out of this full name that we have here. I'm going to select this colon, or I can select a cell and use the control key and the space bar to select this colon. Then I'm going to create an empty colon after this colon A. So I'm going to hold the control key, the shift key, and the plus symbol. Now I have this colon inserted before this colon A data. So in this case I want to type first name, and I'm going to hit the enter key. Now I'm going to pull out all the first name of this name that we have here. So I'm going to type the first name, which is Jonas, and I'm going to hit the enter key. Now that I have this done, Excel has easily recognized this particular operation. Therefore, if I hold the control key and the letter E, this is going to pull out all the first name of these full names that we have under colon A, and this is perfectly done. That is why I always prompt every Excel user to be a keyboard fanatic, because keyboard shortcuts helps us to complete our tasks in a minute. So Control plus E serves as a flash fill in Microsoft Excel to pull out certain data in an easy way. Now if I hold Control plus F on the keyboard, this is going to provide me with a find and replace dialog box, and this prompts me to find some data in my worksheet, especially if I have some large database in Microsoft Excel. So if I type something like Jessica and I click on find list, you can see that this has selected this cell, which is Jessica Enam. Find list Jessica. So these are the only two names that we have here. Let's assume that I want to pull out all names or all data that matches this search. I'm going to click on find all. You can also use the Alt key and the letter I on the keyboard, and this is going to provide you with this particular names that we have here. And we have the column headers, we have book, and this tells you the name of the workbook. And also we have sheet, this tells you that we are in sheet 1. And then we have name, cell, and this tells you the cell reference. We have A4 and B4. So if I click on this jumps me to what? B4, A4, and this is the value that we have in this A4 and B4, and that is Jessica Enam and also Jessica. So the find dialog box helps you to find certain data in an easy way, and that will help you to make some editing or modifications to your available data. I can use the escape key to close this dialog box. If I hold Ctrl plus J on the keyboard, this provides me with a go-to dialog box, and when I use this reference, which is the reference field that we have here, and I type a cell reference A4, when I click on OK, this jumps me to that particular cell. Ctrl J. If I type F8, now currently the A4 is selected. If I click on OK, this jumps me to F8. So as I said earlier, if you have a large amount of data in Microsoft Excel and you want to switch to specific cells in your data, you can use the go to dialog box and type your cell reference and have a particular data selected. Now Ctrl J, we have this special option which you can hold the Alt key and the letter S on the keyboard. This provides you with a go to special dialog box, and we have other options you can optimize to get access to certain formatting or data that you have in Microsoft Excel. We have comment, constant, formulas, we have blanks, we have current region, we have objects, we have row difference, color difference. All these are options you can go through and then get access to certain data. If you have some data validation applied to your data, you can choose this option and get access to it. If you have some formulas, you can click, and when you do this, we have numbers, text, logical, and errors. We have all these checked. So if I click on OK, you can see that all the options that we checked under formulas, we have these selected. this tells you that all the values that we have here, this is a formula, or these cells that we have here consist of formula or a function. So when I use the go to special dialog box, I have this particular cells selected. These cells are datas, therefore these are functions and these are numbers. If I move back to the go to special dialog box and then go to special and choose constant, and I'm going to uncheck this and click on OK. You see that we have these cells selected because all these are constant. They are not functions or formulas, but these ones that we have here, they are functions or they are formulas. Now if I hold Ctrl+H on the keyboard, this provides me with a find and replace dialog box, and in this case we have find what and we have replace with. When we use the Ctrl+F, we had only the find what, but in this case we have replace with. It means that if I have Jessica here and I want to replace it with another name, I can easily do this in this particular field. So already we have Jessica here because we performed this particular action previously. So in this replace with, if I type and then I click on replace or replace all, it says that all done, we made 2 replacements. And when I click on OK, you can see that Jessica is out and Banahene is in. Therefore I have used this particular find and replace dialog box to replace these items in my Excel worksheet. This moves us to the next command. If this particular changes or modifications that I made to my data is not accepted and I want to switch back to the previous name, which is Jessica, I can use Ctrl+Z on the keyboard, and you can see that I have easily changed this, which was previously Banahene, to Jessica in this particular different cells that we have here. So Ctrl+Z is to undo certain actions in Microsoft Excel. Now if I want to convert this data into an Excel official table, I'll make sure one cell is selected, then I'll hold Ctrl+A to select all cells, then Ctrl+L on the keyboard. This gives me the create table dialog box, and it says where is the data for your table, and this data is selected. Therefore this is the cell references or the range of cells that we have here. And now it says my table has headers. You check and click on OK. Another way to have this converted into a table, after selecting, you can use Ctrl+T on the keyboard, and this will also allow you to convert your normal range into an Excel official table. Now if I select this cell and hold Ctrl+K on the keyboard, I get the insert hyperlink dialog box, and we have link to. This is where we have text to display. You can have a screen tip here. You can also link all this to all the options that we have here. It can be an existing file, a web page. You can place in this document. You can create new document. You can also have an email address. Any of this you can do so. If I choose existing file and choose this particular folder here, browse for file, this will allow me to select a file, which can be a text file, a video, audio, or a picture, and that is going to serve as a link for this cell which consists of this data. And anytime I choose this particular or click on this particular link I'm going to create, that is going to open this particular file. If I choose any of these options that we have here, and this is a picture, if I select and then click on OK, now this serves as a link. When I place my mouse pointer on this data, I have this normal selected pointer, but if I place my mouse pointer on this, I have this link select icon, and this tells me the location or the file part of this link. That says we have file, the C colon users boxman, and we have the desktop, which consists of our picture. Therefore if I click on this, this is going to open this beautiful image or logo, which is my channel logo, on this desktop background, because I have linked this image to that data we have in Microsoft Excel. I'm going to close this. You can also use the Alt key and the F4 to close this window. Now back to my Excel data. We have this workbook open, and let's assume that we have other existing workbook on our desktop, we can use Ctrl+O on the keyboard, and this is going to get us straight to the backstage view where we have the open command selected, and we have all these existing workbooks, because when you click on this workbooks tab, we have all these existing workbooks. And if you want to work with any of these workbooks that we have in Microsoft Excel, you place your mouse pointer on it and click, and that is going to open this perfectly on your desktop background. To get back to your front stage view of Microsoft Excel, you can press the escape key or click on this arrow. Now when I hold Ctrl+P, this will get me to the print settings interface where I can have certain configurations applied to this available data and have a hard copy printout of this data through any connected printer we have in Microsoft Excel. You can also print this as a PDF if you have this option selected, that is Microsoft Print to PDF. So Ctrl+P always gets you to the backstage view where you are going to have the print command selected. To cancel this interface, you press the escape key on the keyboard. Now if I select this data that we have here, or I hold Ctrl+A and then hold Ctrl+Q on the keyboard, this is going to provide me with a quick analysis toolbar that we have here, and we have formatting, chart, totals, tables, and we have spark lines. And under these tabs we have options you can apply to your data that is selected. So if I move to formatting, I can have some color scheme or data bars, or I can have some icon setup for this. I can also have some greater than, some text, some clear options. I can have all these options applied to my data in Microsoft Excel based on the quick analysis toolbar. So to always get access to this toolbar, you hold Ctrl+Q on the keyboard. Now if I have this cell selected and I want to pull this data which is to the left of this cell, I can hold Ctrl+R on the keyboard, and this is going to copy the function, because this is a function that says C:E2, meaning it is adding this cells that we have here. Now that I use the Ctrl+R here, now this is going to select D2 and F2, because this formula contains 3 cells. Therefore this is also going to base on the function and also the argument we have here and have the same output. If I delete this and select all these cells, Ctrl+R, this is going to copy or fill up to the right of this cell based on the cells that we have to the left of these selected cells. And all these cells contains functions and formulas. So this is going to pull all the function and formulas to this cell that we have under column G. So you can see the output that we have here. If I click on this, this adding D9 to F9, this adding D8 to F8, because that is the argument that is contained by these cells. And this is cell references. I have a video that explains that, and I will drop that in the description below. This is going to explain to you all the cell references that we have in Microsoft Excel. Now in this case, this is an existing workbook because we have already saved this. But if you have any changes applied to this and you don't save it and you try to close it by using Ctrl+W, this is going to prompt you that want to save your changes to this new workbook, because we have made some modifications or some changes to our available data in Microsoft Excel. So if I use Ctrl+W, this is going to close this particular window. So I need to save this. And how can we do this? Let me press the escape key on the keyboard. I'm going to use Ctrl+S on the keyboard. Now this has saved this particular data. Now if I use Ctrl+W, this is going to permanently close this active window, and now I have my previous window open on my desktop background. So anytime you want to use Ctrl+W, you have to make sure that you save all the changes applied to your data. Now if I select this and use Ctrl+X, this is going to cut this data from this section, and that is going to be found in the clipboard of the home tab. So if I move to the home tab and in the clipboard task pane, I have this item copied or cut into this section. Therefore, if I press the escape key on the keyboard, this is found in the task pane. If I select all these cells, Ctrl plus X, this is also moved to the task pane. Therefore, if I select this cell or this cell and hold Ctrl plus V on the keyboard, this is going to move these items that was selected here to a different location. Now, this is when, if I want to undo this action, I can use Ctrl plus Z, and this moves this data back to its previous location. And if I want to redo, Ctrl plus Y, and this also goes back to the current location. Another keyboard shortcut which is a bonus to you is when you have your mouse not working and you press the Alt key on the keyboard, this is going to provide some letters representations and also number representations on your quick access toolbar and the menu bar. And in this case, when I move to the quick access toolbar, you can see that I have all these numbers here, and also on the menu bar I have these letters here. So anytime I am working within Microsoft Excel and I have all these letters and numbers representation, if I want to move to the developer tab, I'm going to press the letter L. And when I get access to the developer tab, I'm going to have its ribbon activated. And on the ribbon, we have individual commands or options, which also have their letter representations. So if I want to record a macro, I'm going to press the letter R. And this is going to provide me with a record macro dialog box. And this is not the work of the mouse, but rather the work of the keyboard.